corruption, and they don't care. They're predatory, parasitic when they deal with other people outside of China. And they use this unrest. They use these jihad groups, and not just in Nigeria, but in other countries. There's a model. They extract the minerals, they pay the terrorists, and pay the corruption to keep people from looking at it. And that's happening lots of places in the world. It's part of a global template. Now, Nigeria is unique. Because it's not just that happening. It's not just that it's so big and influential, but the radical Muslims from around the world have flocked there. They now have safe haven there. ISIS, Al Qaeda, these other groups have impunity. They have safe haven. They have resources, and they.
Good day, good day, good day. It's another Friday, State of the Nation on the Atlanta Discuss channel. Last week, Friday, we spoke to Mike Arnold. Yes, a lot of revelation. Yes, a lot of calls, a lot of emails. Yes, that was a lot from Mike. Where did you meet Mike? How did Mike know all those stuff and all that? Well, the truth of the matter is that most of the things Mike is saying or has said are in public domain. So much so that the President of the United States himself has spoken about it emphatically. But then we know there are killings of Christians. There's no doubt about that. And we know statistically this year, over 7,000. We've heard from pastors on ground. We've heard from people on ground. So it's not news. Maybe we've ignored or been playing the ostrich for a while, but now it's in public domain. But today, another Friday, I am back with somebody that a lot of people want us to see again. And that is Mike Arnold again. Mike, how you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. It's good to be here again.
Great. So this time around, we're not going to talk about most of the things we're talking about, Now, the question that keep coming is about the sponsors. Who are those behind this? A lot of people follow you, they listen to what you've said, and you've said a lot about those behind it. So the question is, who are those behind this and why are they doing it?
It's a good question. And, I know Nigerian libel laws and I've already been threatened. The Sultan of Sokoto has name checked me in the media. And I know the facts and I don't know Nigerian politics. So, I'm not going to say this individual, I'm going to say the system, because that's where the problem is. It's the individuals are part of a larger system. It's not like you have some outliers that are steering things this direction. The entire Nigerian concept, the Nigerian federal system, is built for northern control, and northern control is based on jihad. They're Siamese twins. It's symbiotic. It's not like you have some people in the government that are sympathetic. You can't have the Nigerian federal system as it exists today without the North and the jihad that underlies it. So that's who the sponsor is. It's the whole system. And that's why you have the government of Nigeria hiring lobbyists and media firms here in the United States to try to get the United States to not care, to not address it. That's not an individual. That's the whole system fighting against accountability, fighting against transparency, fighting against international observation to keep their dirty little secret that's in Nigeria.
Yeah, but the issue is the president today, like I mentioned last week, is from the South. So what's hindering him from dealing with the problem? Because from your explanation now, the Northerners control Nigeria at independence. Technically speaking, the control was handed over to them. So they have the leverage of authority irrespective of who is in power. But
Yeah.
yes, we have a Muslim president who is from the start, and a powerful one at that, because President Tinubu is not a run-of-the-mill kind of guy. So why is it so hard for him to nip it in the bud?
Well, he's a creature of the system. I'm not. It doesn't matter where he's from. He wouldn't be in his position, and there wouldn't be an administration. There wouldn't be a government if it weren't for the underlying control from the North. I mean, good luck. Jonathan was president for a season as well. And look what they did to him. He was an anomaly, and they stomped him out and made sure he got away fast. If Tinubu were to buck the system, he wouldn't last long either. It's all built on that system, and he's learned how to master it for his own gain. Somebody here asked me what party he was in, and I said he's a corruptocrat. And he's a creature of the system. It doesn't matter where he's from. He's the creature of the system.
So you think, because right now, with the way things are going in Nigeria, the northern establishment that you're talking about are not particularly happy with President Tinubu, because they think he has an ambition to maybe spend more than a second term. That's what they say. And also, he's been nepotistic in appointments, cronyism, bringing his guys from Lagos. And some will say, yes, he showed his hand too early, so they not want to nip it in the bud. Now, when you look at, like you said, you don't understand the politics, but political decampments in the Nigerian political firmament have been southern governors all moving to the party of Bola Tinubu, which is the APC. So the next election is looking like a North versus South kind of thing. That's not, I don't think it's good for Nigeria, considering the level of instability and all that. So how does that affect all the killings? What does it say? North versus South, and the president has made it clear that he's going to run anyway. So how does that still limit him to nipping it in the bud?
Well, in the big picture, I think the North versus South is a false dichotomy. What the heart of any genocide, of anything like this, anywhere you go in history, is the acceptance of the belief that it is okay to kill people who disagree with you.
Right.
That if somebody disagrees with me, my religion or my political views, that and not just it's okay, but Allah wants it. That is a cancer. That ideology, and I'm not pegging that. That ideology can be found in other iterations, not just radical Islam, but in Nigeria, that's where that is based. That belief and people who hold on to that belief in a civilized society should be pariahs. In Nigeria, they're a voting bloc. In Nigeria, they're a power base. In Nigeria, they're coalition partners. Whether you're from the North or South, the acceptance of that ideology and the people who espouse it and embrace it is woven into the very fabric. What it should be is people who are in favor of killing people for thought against people who aren't in favor of that. North and South, so long as they work with and lobby and benefit from people who hold that belief, it's never going to be stopped until that thought, until that ideology, until the people who espouse that ideology are either at least deplatformed, if not purged from the land. There will be no peace. There will be no end to the killing. So you're talking North versus South and not addressing that. It's window dressing. It's not talking about the heart of the matter.
So it's more like Muslim versus Christians, you think?
No. It is people who believe it's okay to kill for thought against those who aren't. There are peaceful Muslims, and there are violent Christians. It's harder to find them. People who, because anybody that is a violent person is not really a Christian, but it's and like I did at the press conference on the 12th, where the truth bomb was dropped. One of the northern imams stood up and said, "Oh, Muslims are being killed too." And I said, "Yes, I know they are. That's why we should stand together as Christians and peaceful Muslims against that ideology." But nobody on the Muslim side has taken me up on that. But no, it's not Muslim versus Christian. It is civilization versus barbarism. You know, it's just in Nigeria, it's the radical northern Muslims that are at this point reflecting and perpetrating the barbarism. We should all human beings with a conscience should stand against that, regardless of our religion.
I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people from the last interview, and a lot of people like, where did you get that guy from? He's speaking, what he's speaking doesn't make sense. Those are not facts. Those are not this, you know. I mean, clearly, I'm sure you know you have a lot of enemies in Nigeria now, you know, that kind of thing, you know. So what we do, we balance it, you know, as long as the truth comes out. But the question I'll ask you is this, right? After all said and done, you know, is there any international connection to all this, you know? Because I know you've mentioned in the past, so person trained here, so person trained there, you know. I mean, is there any international connection? Because like you said, and like most people know, there's always external factors in all this. And the problem is international already. So is there any international connection in the ensuing melee?
Absolutely. How can I say this? There are always bigger players on behind the scenes. There's always somebody that's playing the chess. In the big picture, and there's probably a bigger picture than that, but a lot of this is driven by the international competition for minerals. It's no secret that China has been working feverishly for a long time to corner the market on rare earth elements, for example, and they've already started to flex with that. That is a chokehold on technology for the future. China is buying. Can't say 100% of them, but we know they are buyers of blood minerals from the north and funders, therefore, of the terror and the corruption. And they don't care. They're predatory, parasitic when they deal with other people outside of China. And they use this unrest. They use these jihad groups, and not just in Nigeria, but in other countries. There's a model. They extract the minerals, they pay the terrorists, and pay the corruption to keep people from looking at it. And that's happening lots of places in the world. It's part of a global template. Now, Nigeria is unique. Because it's not just that happening, not just that it's so big and influential, but the radical Muslims from around the world have flocked there. They now have safe haven there. ISIS, Al Qaeda, these other groups have impunity. They have safe haven. They have resources, and the United States AFRICOM commander just recently testified before Congress. It's now the epicenter of global terrorism. That's global as well. So you have the Chinese and the other players playing for the minerals, and then you have the radical Muslims that are congregating there now to use it as a launch pad for global jihad. So, it's got global tentacles. A lot of global forces have their hand in the Nigerian cookie jar. The British among them that engineered this whole thing from the start to keep it divided and to keep it in decline so they can loot the minerals. It's huge and it has international implications in every direction.
All right. So you're American, for example. And one of the questions someone sent to me was that, what that guy is trying to do is that because the Chinese are here plundering your resources, he wants a scenario where it to be the Americans that are plundering the resources, you know?
So let me tell you, and I've been very vocal about this, and you can look in anything I've written. First of all, I've advocated for, and I will continue to work for, Nigeria becoming an industrialized nation in its own right. The more Nigeria can process those minerals, and there's stages of it, and Nigeria has the ability and the brilliance and the education and the energy and the resources to be a major industrialized nation. You should be selling goods and services instead of minerals. You should be using those minerals to make the goods and services. That's what's best for Nigeria, and that's what I'm in favor of. Now, it's going to take a while to get there. There's only a handful of customers for minerals of this magnitude. You can look it up. I think 6: China, Japan, South Korea, United States, Germany, India. There might be 1 or 2 more. If you look at those and say which of those customers is going to be best for Nigeria, I would submit that the United States would be on the top of that list or near it, and that should be considered. Also, we have a good administration now. The United States was neutral, if you recall. Trump was neutral on Ukraine because, let's see, it's America first. What is the U.S. national interest? Until he got the deal with Zelensky, there was no U.S. national interest. Now there is, and now the U.S. is behind Ukraine. Again, I'm not. However it's done, Nigeria needs to put guardrails on it. This can only come from Nigeria. It needs to be more of a systematic structure where anybody related to the mineral trade has to be licensed, has to be insured, has to have background checks. I think the transactions should be done on blockchain. I think there should be a mandate that a percentage of every mineral deal stays in the community to build schools and clinics and security and depots so the artisanal miners can get a fair deal on their minerals. All of that is possible within Nigeria. But again, you have to look at the international customers. Who's going to be the best in supporting that? China should be immediately stricken off the list because of their proven track record. And ultimately, it should all go into Nigeria elevating itself through the ability to process and manufacture with those minerals so they don't need another country. That's where I stand. Read into it what you want, but I think that's transparent, and I think that's pretty darn logical.
All right. So when you talk about Islamic fundamentalism, that's not in America. America is a free country, it's not probably the most powerful country in the world. So where did the fundamentalism come into Nigeria? Because I know we've always had Muslims in Nigeria, but these things didn't really rear its head until maybe the early 80s with Mike Arnold, a little fragment of there. Then Boko Haram, now ISWAP, Black Afro, it's really a hotbed now. So where did it come from? Mali, Burkina Faso, Libya, Afghanistan? Where from you? I'm asking you this because I know you've done a lot of investigation.
Yeah, so it's historically traceable to the Fulani coming in. They were a nomadic tribe from the Sahara that swept in hundreds and hundreds of years ago. In 1804, Usman Dan Fodio established what many say was the largest, certainly among the largest pre-colonial empires in Africa. And it was all done through jihad and genocide. That has never been repudiated. It's just they got to an equilibrium there and it sort of went under the radar. But it's reared its head when necessary. How can I put this? It's like, a bully with a baseball bat. The baseball bat might stay behind his back when he be smiling with you, but when the deal goes sideways, he pulls out the bat and bashes you with it. It reared its head most recently when the good luck Jonathan took him to the presidency, and he was actually making inroads. He was actually pushing it back, and they had to fight against that. And how do they fight against it? They fight against it with jihad. So with Obama's complicity in removing safeguards and sending his political fixer to help get Buhari elected, they unleashed this they brought the baseball bat back out. And I think they might have lost some control over it. I think it might have taken on a life of its own because they did import radicals from other parts of the world. And if you even look at the track record of these massacres, the early ones started with foreigners coming in, and then the Nigerian radicals. It's been nationalized, it's been co-opted, but it's always been there. It's always been the fabric of the system. Is the caliphate built on jihad? That's never repudiated jihad. It's always been part of who they are. That ideology that it's okay to kill people you disagree with has never been eradicated. It's just simmered, and it's flared up as necessary, the Afghan War, and today, when there were opposition to that got uppity and they needed to put them back in their place.
Okay, so
am I wrong about that?
Well, don't worry, I got a lot of questions for you because people send me so many, so I'm trying to. Now, this is from me, right? I mean, you're very visible now. You're talking, and some like it in Nigeria, some don't like it. But the question right now to you is this: do you think the approach of the Nigerian government to this whole genocidal issue is the right approach? If not, what do you think they should be doing?
So what I've seen firsthand is denial and spin and attempts to shut down any inquiry, not just internationally, but locally. They are not being transparent. They're not being honest. They're lying. They're spinning. They're applying political pressure. I believe if the world blinks, that you're going to see massive retaliation inside Nigeria, perhaps unprecedented. They're already talking about anybody that's talking about genocide should be prosecuted for sedition. And I believe that's a capital offense. So they're already threatening anybody that's speaking up. I think the reason people are able to speak up is because the world is paying attention now. But no, this is a totalitarian regime that does not want anybody to help them stop this genocide, because they don't want to stop it. They want to put lipstick on it, and they might, hey, just keep it quiet for a while. But they're not repudiating the ideology of death. They're not speaking against it. They're just trying to muddy the waters. And so, yeah, there's nothing. They're doing nothing but trying to keep it going. Ultimately, preserve the system that's corrupt.
What do you think should have been the right approach? I mean, what do you think they should rightly do? Now you say they're in denial, but what should have been the right thing to do?
Let me put this in a historical context, because I think a lot of people, most Nigerians, are too close to it, and other people are their eyes are still adjusting to what's being shown. I believe where we are in history is as if a journalist in 1940 had stumbled into Auschwitz and exposed the Nazi regime. The fact is, at that point in time, Neville Chamberlain was still trying to negotiate with them. The fact is, at that point in time, Hitler had never violated the Constitution of Germany. The fact is, at that point in time, the German people didn't know about the concentration camps. Supposedly, they didn't know until after the end of the war, when they were exposed. Had the German people known what was really going on in their names, they perhaps would have stopped it. But asking what the Nigerian government can do to stop it is like asking what Hitler could have done to stop the Holocaust. It's all fantasy talk, because there's no, it's a non-starter. It's not going to happen, because it would mean unraveling the entire system.
Interesting. I was trying to look for something I read yesterday. Some guy on Twitter said that the government of Nigeria's strategy is to just be quiet about it, so that the president of the United States will forget about it. That wasn't because there are too many events happening in the world, so events will overtake it and all that. Now, in today's paper, the Nigerian Minister for Information, somebody I think you've met because I've seen your pictures together.
Oh, yeah.
He had said that Nigeria is handling it diplomatically. So, meaning no need to confront and all that. So, my point
is, Neville Chamberlain how that approach works.
Oh, okay.
That's the way it is. Neville Chamberlain was trying to be diplomatic as the Nazis were taking over country after country. There is no diplomacy with a totalitarian regime that is complicit with genocide and that has global ambitions. There is no diplomacy that will work. Not saying it shouldn't be tried. If you look at my track record, I'll always ask for repentance. I always give people an opportunity to do the right thing. But there's always a clock ticking. And I gave Rano Omokri a chance to repent. I truly did, and I really wanted him to. When I was on the way to the airport after the press conference, but he didn't, and the time expired. So yeah, diplomacy. There should always be an olive branch, but anybody that puts hope in that olive branch right now, I think, is delusional.
All right, good. So now, there's something you call Christianization of Nigeria. I'm sure and a lot of guys, pastors, men of God, El Buba, somebody you know very well, Datomo, they've all been speaking out on the killing and all that. Now, with everything now in public, it does look like I don't think that anything serious has happened, at least to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, we've heard there has been some arrest here and there and all that. But having said all that, it does seem like the hoopla is subsiding, really. And if the diplomacy the Nigerian government is playing is working, it's clearly working, because everything is sliding down. A lot of events are taking place all over the world. Events are overtaking it and all that. So Based on what you said and what's happening, what's the end game for the Christians, especially in the middle belt? What other options do they have?
I don't
It's
believe.
going to be politics at the end of the day, you know.
I don't know. I believe there's an opportunity. I believe there's a window open.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're seeing some brave leaders step up. Abel Gamina just yesterday posted a video that, and he's got a lot to lose. The reason that you're not seeing retaliation by the government right now is because the world is watching. There's no way they can win the PR battle.
But that's it. That's enough. I mean,
yeah.
to some people, a lot of people feel that's enough. The attention is enough.
But it's not. I'm connected, and I won't name names. It wouldn't be appropriate. But with some of the major pillars of Nigeria in the business world, political worlds, behind the scenes people who are 100% sympathetic and in support of what I'm doing privately, but they will not stand up. They will not loosen their pockets to help at this point. You have, and I'm gonna, the one I'm familiar with. I know there's others, but the one prominent leader out there who has been vocal on this in the past, Peter Obi, he's saying nothing. This is the opportunity. If the leaders don't stand up and really seize this moment, and it slides back to politics as usual, that's the end of Nigeria. Because they're going to realize that, hey, the world's not going to stop us. We can keep a genocide going with impunity. We're free. And the retaliation, again, they're already threatening it. They're tracking people. I know as a fact they're tracking people, waiting for the time. And if the world looks away or the world blinks, Nigeria will be plunged into darkness that you haven't seen before. I mean, I believe there is no going back to the status quo. This is the time for people to stand up and drive change, or it's over. I believe that. But there is no going back to politics as usual.
Yeah, Obi did issue a statement. I mean, I can't remember what the content was, but
it was a long, nuanced thing about diplomacy, which is fine. That's not a bad foundation. But Abel Damina is being more bold about it than he is.
Yeah, but you see, the difference is that with the Damina, Eneche, I can't remember the guy that was said was kidnapped or something, the man of God. You see, they are in the middle belt. They are in Plateau, they're in Benue. They see these things firsthand. They've lost cousins, brothers, uncles, you understand? So
I know.
They have pictures, they've seen it, So, I mean, I'm not holding brief for the rest, but it's completely different from the man of God in the Southwest or somewhere else to be as vociferous as a Damina, El Buba, or Eneche, because they've seen it, So
that's a lame excuse. They know the truth, and in private, they're thanking me and giving me a thumbs up, and in public, they're keeping their mouths shut. That's not confusion. That's not skepticism. That's cowardice, and it's self-preservation. And my God, no great. That America was founded, and look, America's had its flaws, and I'm very vocal about that. There's certain parts of American history that turn my stomach, and there's certain parts of American culture today that turn my stomach. But there's never been a more benevolent nation on earth, and you can't imagine a world without America in it for the last 250 years. It would be a very dark place. The way it was founded, the founding fathers together pledged their life, their liberty, and their sacred honor to establish a nation based on truth and based on justice. If Nigerian leaders today are not willing to pledge their life, liberty, and sacred honor, then they're not leaders. They're just self-serving leeches when it comes down to it, because this is the future of not just yourself, but of the nation and of the world. This is a genocide that's raging. This is concentration camps across the country. And it's obvious, and it's right under your nose, and the mechanics of it. The history of it. What's going on, and you're not speaking up today because you're afraid. Shame on you.
Yeah, the last time we spoke, you said, well, you don't have, I asked you a question, So I'm going to ask that question again because you said you don't have the fact, but you hear what did you call it, chatters or something like that. And what is the U.S. still going to intervene in Nigeria? I mean, based on what you know textually or from chatters or whatever.
I don't know.
Mm.
I know Trump doesn't bluff. I know Ted Cruz doesn't bluff. I know they know Trump. I've watched this from the very beginning, and I was not a fan of his at the beginning. I actually was very much opposed to him at the beginning. I only voted for him because he was better than Hillary Clinton. But he's earned my trust. But I remember early on, this is just an example. He went out and it seemingly very casual, seemingly off the cuff, said, "Oh, my office was bugged. I was spied on by the other side." And oh, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. And he let it sort of simmer, and then the facts came out. He was 100% correct. He knew that. He doesn't come out with his whole case and everything he knows, but he doesn't say anything until he has it. You know, he's got the goods. He knows what's going on. I'm not at that level yet. I have a very, very, very prominent, perhaps the top human rights figure in the United States today that I've become friends with, and he's setting up meetings with me. Lord willing, within the next week or so, I'll be able to report back after I meet with the Speaker of the House and the National Security Advisor and perhaps the White House. But I've sent somebody asked me in that circle, asked me just the other day, there was a rumor that Tinubu was coming again this week. What should Trump do or what should he say? And I actually sent video of these IDP camps, just like Trump showed the pictures of the coffins in South Africa. I encouraged him when Tinubu's sitting in the Oval Office there to show these videos of these IDP camps in the middle of Abuja. There's nothing they can do to refute that. Trump knows what's going on. Cruz knows what's going on. There is a big PR fight. I believe that Trump meant what he said. He's not going to let this continue. What does that look like? I don't know, but it's certainly more than diplomacy with this brood of vipers.
Do you think what President Trump said, ab initio, did you think he rattled the Nigerian government? Do you think they feel rattled?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think he did? Yeah. I mean, they're panicking, and they should. And the rats scurry when the lights turn on. And what's interesting, I'm just a missionary, just a simple guy. But everybody says that what I did in Nigeria with the press conference is what directly compelled Trump to take action.
Wow. Are you going to come back to Nigeria anytime soon?
That's my second home. And I have dear friends and family there. I don't know that I can ever come back in the same way. I like hopping in an Uber and going and getting suya or point and kill, and sitting and drinking a Guinness at the village chief at Abuja and eating, drinking palm wine. I don't know that I'll be able to do that again. I don't know if I'll get a visa from this administration, but yeah, I'll come back.
Okay, what if your phone rings now and it's President Tinubu on the other side of the phone and like, Mike, I've listened to everything you've said. I'm the president, I want my country to be peaceful and all that, yada, yada, yada. Look, I need your help. I want to solve this. And I'm sure he'll be convincing because he's the kind of person that will reach out to somebody he knows that can solve the problem, actually. That's the way I see it. And he calls you and like, look, Mike, let's talk. Can you come? Let's talk about this. I really need help on this. And I know what you're saying is the truth, but yeah, I'm a bit handicapped. You also know that, but let's do this together. Okay. I want you to advise me. I want you to lobby for me. I want you to do this. Yeah. I'm ready to pay you for whatever services. And I'm sure we'll all be happy at the end of the day. It's a tough call. You already know my country is very complicated, over 500 ethnic groups. I'm just trying to balance the economy. I'm just 2 years in power. I inherited a very lopsided this, that, this is not the only problem I have. My people, there's over, it goes on and on.
No, I got you.
I have a morality crisis. I'm just trying to write my name in gold. So this is not helping me in any way. Mike, I need your help. What will you do?
I would absolutely. First, I would make sure I notify the U.S. State Department and have security lined up and all that. I don't want to disappear. and I would go highly visible.
Nah,
But you know, I saw a difference in the environment when Tinubu took office. To be completely honest, we were having to go to extreme measures to stay undercover during the Buhari administration because they were arresting and torturing documentary filmmakers and such. And there was at the beginning of the Tinubu administration a seemingly more openness for dialogue. And it was after that I met the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Information, and other officials. And I actually had some hope that he would do something about this. But 2 years in, he hasn't. And all I see is spin and denial. But I still believe that the only way for him to survive politically, maybe otherwise, is to become a human rights champion. And I would absolutely help if he's willing and sincere. I would absolutely help with that, starting with recognition of the IDPs who are all over the country that are denied. They're called criminals. They're called vagrants. International community would flood in. And if he were to say, yes, we're going to purge this evil ideology of death from our land, and invited help, I know that the world would be happy to help with that. And I believe the good Nigerians would rally to that. And he could be a historical figure for good. Whether he would mean it or not, I don't know. But there's still an opportunity, I think, for him to pivot, as long as he's president. I think that time is fast running out, but I've endeavored to reach out to him before. But again, 2 years in, the pattern he's repeating and repeating shows no willingness to fix this. And so, yeah, I mean, again, clock's ticking, time's running out. But if he's going to survive politically at all, he needs to get in front of this and overnight become a human rights champion. Is he capable of that? I don't know. He's pretty slick.
Okay, you met President Jonathan in the past, I mean, when he was in power, right? When he was president.
Not when he was in power. I met him last year in May in Abuja, in April or May in Abuja.
Okay, so you had a very good conversation with him
Absolutely.
about the time he was in power and all that. Yeah, what I'm asking is, the situation President Tinubu is in now, is it similar to the kind of situation Jonathan was in back then?
No, I don't think so.
But two different sub-regions from the south. What's the difference?
I think that Jonathan had a good heart and good intentions, and obviously wasn't a political climber, a player, a hustler. And look, the facts show that Tinubu, while in the United States, paid like $500,000 to get out of charges of money laundering for drug dealers. I mean, the guy's been a player, he's been a fixer, he's been a murky underworld character. I mean, that's just the facts. Jonathan has none of that. So yeah, they're just completely different people with completely different approaches, completely different beliefs, and completely different ambitions. I believe Jonathan was there to do good. And he was honestly, it was the only nation at the time, only nation on earth where radical Islam was being pushed back. So no, Tinubu has no historical similarity or character similarity to Jonathan. That is what I can see.
Yeah, but I mean, we've all heard that Tinubu forfeited money in America. We've heard of a dossier. There's a freedom of information request from some guy called Alan Greenspan and David Hundeyin. Now, if all these dossiers are with the United States government, so logically, it means that President Tinubu should want to do what the United States government want and not do otherwise, since they have supposedly compromising facts and documentation or dossier on him. Don't you think so?
Sorry, say that again.
I said you mentioned that President Tinubu had forfeited money.
Yeah.
Now, there's a freedom of information request from a guy called Greenspan and a guy called Hundeyin to release dossiers from the United States government about Bola Tinubu. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah. I got it.
Has not been fully released. Part of it was released, but they had to, what's the word for it again? They had to redact some part of it. So what I'm just saying is that if the United States had so much information on Bola Tinubu, will it not be logical that Bola Tinubu want to do everything the United States government want instead of, antagonize them or oppose them or go to bed with the Chinese rather than just play safe and be with the United States?
There's first of all, I don't think Tinubu or Nigeria needs the United States. They can just pivot to China. They can pivot to Russia. It's all politics and it's all economics. It's really not the ideology. And look, you know how international politics, even local, small, it's leverage, it's blackmail. I don't know what the U.S. government has on them or doesn't have on them, but if they have something on it, they're probably using it as leverage, I would think. There's, the rumor, again, I can't substantiate it. I don't know. The rumor is that if Tinubu does come to the United States, that Trump could have him arrested. I don't know.
That can happen.
At that level, there's always, you can never trust anything or anybody until it all comes out, and it hasn't all come out. So it's just speculation at this point.
Well, I have to thank you for what you're doing. The Christians in the Middle Belt are very excited about what you're doing. And I know there are people in Nigeria that are not happy about what you're also doing. But we can't live in denial. People have died. Christians have died. A lot of people are dying. I mean, I was telling someone yesterday that in Lagos, the Okada riders, people die, maybe not an extraordinary number of people, maybe negligible, but people die through that means, falling down from the Okada daily. So anybody's death, one man's death is not an excuse. However, there's still a lot that has to be done. What you have done is to show some love for Nigeria, for Nigerian Christians, based on your first-hand experience. I am sure that the government is trying their best. Hopefully, it yields some result. But the key thing there is not to live in denial. The problems are really, really there. So, Mike, thank you so much. And if I have questions from any quarter, of course, I'll knock on your door again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you guys. See you next week. Bye.